Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Kiran Mai. Welcome to the pharmacology class. Today topic for the pharmacology class is insulin, oral anti-diabetic drugs. Contents we are going to discuss in this topic are, first we have brief introduction about pancreas, that is where insulin synthesizes. Next, that is endogenous insulin, and we'll discuss about the exogenous insulin, that is their classifications and pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics of exogenous insulins, and oral anti-diabetic drugs. These oral drugs also we are going to discuss about their classification, pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics. Introduction. All we know that insulin is secreted by pancreas. Pancreas is a exocrine as well as endocrine gland. Exocrine and endocrine gland. Exocrine gland mainly concerned with the digestive things, and endocrine gland, it is having islet cells of Langerhans. These islet cells of Langerhans having four types of cells. These are alpha, beta, delta, and F cells. And insulin is synthesized by beta cells. The is the main mechanism or the main effect of insulin is it decreases the blood glucose level. And alpha cells, these alpha cells are, they secrete glucagon. The effect of glucagon is they increase the blood glucose level. Delta cells, these delta cells secrete somatostatin hormone, which inhibit the secretion of glucagon and insulin, and it acts on hypothalamus and decreases the, inhibit the synthesis of growth hormone, and it acts on the GI system and inhibit the secretion of gastrin. F cells. Last and final, we have F cells. These F cells are, they secrete pancreatic polypeptide and diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus means honey. Diabetes mellitus, it is a chronic metabolic disease. It is characterized by elevated blood sugar levels due to decreased insulin synthesis or resistance to the insulin. So the main parameter for check the efficacy of drugs here is hyperglycemia. How effectively they are decreasing the glucose levels, or they are inhibiting the hyperglycemic state. So this is a main parameter, and the levels will be seen next slide. According to WHO, diabetes mellitus is the third cause of death and second cause of the blindness. So it is very much important to know how to control the diabetes. Manifestations of diabetes are polyuria, polypepsia, polyphagia. Polyuria means frequent urination. Polydipsia means frequent water intake. Polyphagia means frequent eating. Diabetes, it is four types. But type 1, type 2, these are the major and most commonly we can see among the people. Type 3, type 4 are there, compared to the type 1 and 2, they are very less. Type 1, it is also called as insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. It is due to decreased insulin synthesis. Type 2 diabetes, it is a non-insulin dependent. It is also called NDDM, NIDM, non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. The cause for this is resistance to the insulin. And type 4, it is gestational diabetes mellitus, especially it is in pregnant women. Blood parameters of parameter for the diabetes mellitus is blood glucose levels. So the normal blood glucose levels in fasting it should be between the 70 to 100 mg per deciliter. And post prandial or post lunch, it should be maintained between 70 to 140. This is a normal individual. When the person is having fasting blood glucose levels more than 125 milligrams per deciliter or above, and postprandial blood sugar levels are 200 milligrams per deciliter and above. These are the diabetic. So they are diabetic. In between, that means 101 to 125, 141 to 200, fasting and postprandial respectively. These are called pre-diabetic. So these people should be, they should have their lifestyle modifications, diet changes, exercise. They have to acquire these things, otherwise they'll become diabetes in near future. And insulin and glucagon maintain blood glucose levels homeostatically. They maintain well. If any dysregularity between any problem in these hormones will affect the blood glucose levels. If decreased insulin, it will cause increased blood glucose levels. If glucagon is increased, blood glucose levels will be decreased like that. So homeostasis will be maintained with both insulin and glucagon. So insulin, its pharmacological actions. What are the pharmacological actions? We already said that insulin is secreted by the pancreas. So after releasing, it acts at which sites, and what is the effect of the insulin in that site. Insulin also called as a storage hormone because it increase the uptake and storage of major nutrients that like glucose, fat and protein. So they increase the everything like glucose, fat, protein. And insulin increases the cell growth. So I already told that it affects the glucose metabolism. How? Glucose is a carbohydrate. How it affects the carbohydrate metabolism? It increases the glycogenesis. What is glycogenesis? Conversion of glucose to glycogen. It is glycogenesis. So it is storing the glucose. Number 2, glycogenolysis. It decreases the glycogenolysis. Like stored glycogen degradation is inhibited by the insulin. Neoglucogenesis. That means glucose is formed from the other than carbohydrates like proteins and fats. Insulin decreases that. These all things happens in liver. And muscle and adipose tissue. In muscle and adipose tissue, insulin increase the triglyceride levels. So fatty acid synthesis. Number 2, it will increase the glucose uptake by GLUT4 receptor. Glucose affects on protein metabolism. It increases the protein synthesis and break down the protein. It decreases the breakdown of protein. So nutshell, it increases the protein storage. Like fat metabolism, it is also increases the lipogenesis and increases the triglyceride synthesis. So we discussed that diabetes is two types, majorly two types, type 1 and type 2. But the treatment for the type 1 diabetes, it is mainly dietary restriction, exercise and insulin therapy. It is the treatment for the type 1. For type 2 patients should have weight reduction, dietary restriction and exercise. So these will cause insulin sensitivity. Type 2 diabetes mellitus due to the insulin resistance. These all things together will cause, they decrease the insulin resistance. For them, oral drugs are the treatment. Insulin. exogenous insulin. I can say it is an exogenous insulin. When endogenous insulin is decreased, we need to supply the insulin from the outside. Uh, Earlierly, it was insulin is obtained from the beef and pork, but due to the difference in the species, they will cause hypersensitivity reactions. So after few years, development of recombinant DNA technology, insulin is produced by E. coli and human cells by rDNA technology. Next, genetic engineering technique. These insulin analogs, they are very powerful. Then we can modify them like by changing their amino acid amino acid by changing their amino acid position, they can be like we can produce long acting, like short acting. So we can engineer the insulin according to the need. We can make up insulin like that. The pharmacokinetics of insulin. Insulin always should be given parenterally. If we given by oral, it is degraded by the gastric enzyme. So it should not be given orally. So the rate of when we given parenterally, the rate of absorption depends on the type of insulin. Few insulins are monomeric; they are absorbed very rapid. Their action will be very rapid, onset of action. Some they are hexagons, so their absorption is very less. So the rate of absorption is dependent on the type of insulin. Insulin is metabolized by liver and the kidney. Classification of insulin. Normally, insulins are classified into broadly there are two types. First one, prandial or bolus insulin. Second one, basal insulins. Prandial or bolus insulins. In this, we have three categories. First one, ultra short acting, inhaled insulins, and short acting. In ultra short insulin, we have Lispro, Aspart, Glulicin. The individual drug we'll discuss it later. Just here, I'll discuss the classification. Short acting insulins, regular insulin. It is a crystalline insulin. And these are the prandial or bolus insulins. They should be given just before the meals or just before the meals. Basal insulin, these basal insulins are two types, intermediate and long acting. Intermediate acting, it is the neutral NPH or isophene insulin. NPH means neutral protamine hexadone insulin. Long acting insulins, these are insulin analogs. They are insulin glargine, Ditimer, Digludic. These are the long acting insulins. Insulin, the route, most common route, it is given in subcutaneous. The only one insulin that is given in intravenous is regular insulin in diabetic ketoacidosis. This regular insulin can be given in subcutaneous route also. Where the insulin, in which sites these insulins are given? Abdomen, thigh, arm. In abdomen, we can give anywhere except around the umbilical area. And the site of the injection should not repeated the same area, because if you do repeatedly, it will become lipoatrophy. That means thinning of the lipid layer around the site of injection. First, we'll discuss ultra short acting. These ultra short we have Aspart, Lispro, Glulicin. These actions start within 15 to 30 minutes. These are all bolus insulins. Their action lasts for 3 to 4 hours. I already said that if they have rapid absorption, they should be in monomeric form. So these are absorbed rapidly, so these are monomers. They are given immediately after meal, just before the meal. Normally, these ultra short acting insulins, they are combination with basal or long acting insulins and short acting. These short acting insulins, these are also bolus insulins. These short acting insulin start at within 60 minutes. Their duration will be 16 to 20 hours. Example in this is regular insulin. It is formed in the human rDNA technology, recombinant DNA technology. It is mixed with zinc to promote its stability in hexameric situation, to increase the time of action. It effectively decreases the post-meal hyperglycemia. This short-acting insulin is a drug of choice in DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis, that is in IV route. Intermediate acting insulins. These are the basal insulins. It is NPH or isofen insulin. They have slow onset of action. These are long acting. These insulins, they are cloudy. So before they are injecting into the body, they should be gently rolled to become uniform. In these intermediate acting insulin, that is NPH or isofen insulin, these are conjugated with protamine. These are basal insulins. Long acting insulin. These are also called peakless insulin. Less because these are because the characteristic, that is nocturnal hypoglycemia, is very less chances to occur with these insulins. They degraded very slowly. That's why they are long acting. These are basal insulins. These are the analogs. Examples are glargine, detimers. Due to the structural changes, they soluble at pH 4, that is acidic pH. All rest of all insulins, they are at neutral pH. So they should not be mixed up with these insulins with other insulin. These are less soluble and more stable at neutral pH. So less soluble, because of less solubility, their duration of action is increased. They are stable, so they're not easily degraded at the neutral pH. These are not mixed with any other insulins because these are acidic ADRs. The adverse reactions with the insulin are the main and most common and dangerous adverse reaction is hypoglycemia. So we should tell the patient never skip a meal. Number 2, lipodystrophy. Allergic manifestations, these are rare nowadays, but when they used pork or bovine insulin, these allergic manifestations are more with those kind of insulins. Indications for the insulin therapy. In type 1 diabetes, it's a drug of choice. In type 2, when it is not controlled by the oral drug, we'll add insulin for those patients. Just in gestational diabetes mellitus, GDM, the drug of choice is insulin because oral drugs, they will cross the placenta. They will have hypoglycemic effect on baby. That will be dangerous. This insulin cannot, it is a big molecule, so it cannot cross the placenta. So the drug of choice for the GDM, that is gestational diabetes mellitus, is insulin. And diabetic ketoacidosis, drug of choice also insulin. If a patient, if a diabetic patient, type 2 diabetic patient, he is going to, he is before going to surgery or in infections, the day before the surgery, the oral drugs will be stopped and they start giving insulin. These are the indications for the insulin. The treatment plan will be like in diabetes mellitus, short acting insulins and long acting insulins, they'll be prescribed together. Short acting, they have to give before the meals. Long acting, they maintain the insulin levels, so they have to give in twice. In market, there is availability of pre-mixed preparations. Like short, in that preparation, 25 to 30% will be the short acting insulin, and 70 to 75% will be the long acting. Oral anti-diabetic drugs. These oral anti-diabetic drugs, they're broadly classified as secretagogues and others. These secretagogues, they release the insulin. Others, they decrease the glucose levels other than releasing the insulin. So these secretagogues, for their mechanism, they should have 30% of beta cells should be in a working condition. If the beta cells of the pancreas are not working properly, less than 30, these drugs are ineffective. Other drugs, they'll independent of beta cell action. These insulin secretagogues, they are the main cause for the hypoglycemia. The main side effects will be the hypoglycemia. With other drugs, there is no hypoglycemia. Examples for the insulin secretagogues, there are two groups of drugs, sulfonylureas and meglitinides. Others, we have metformin, glitazones, alpha glucosidase inhibitors, and newer oral anti-diabetic drugs. Secretagogues. In secretagogues, first group is sulfonylureas. Sulfonylureas, in first generation, we have chlorpropamide and tolbutamide. In second generation, we have glipizide, glibenclamide. Their mechanism of action is they increase the insulin release and they decrease the glucagon release, and they also increase the sensitivity of insulin. That is, they decrease the resistance of insulin. The pharmacokinetic characteristics are these oral drugs, they're very well absorbed, and the sulfonylureas, they have a plasma protein binding. These are metabolized by liver and kidney, eliminated by the urine. And meglitinide analogs, repaglitazone, netiglitazone, these are short acting. These are short acting drugs in secretagogues. These are given. These are effectively decrease the postprandial hypoglycemia. Adverse drug reactions for the sulfonylureas. The important adverse drug reaction is hypoglycemia, weight gain. So we should not prescribe these drugs to the obese patients. Chlorpropamide, the chlorpropamide is having, it will cause jaundice. It will have a disulfiram-like reaction, like intolerability to alcohol. It will cause retention of water and sodium. This is the reason for the weight gain. These are the side effects for the chlorpropamide. And second generation, they have very less side effects, but they are very short acting. They decrease only postprandial hypoglycemia. And other drugs, we have metformin. In other drugs, first group is metformin, like drugs. In that group, we have metformin and fenformin. The mechanism of action of metformin is it increase uptake and utilization of glucose by skeletal muscle. It slows the glucose absorption from the GIT. It inhibits the gluconeogenesis and it promotes the insulin binding to its receptor. These are orally well absorbed. These plasma half-life is 2 to 3 hours. These are not metabolized, excreted unchanged in urine. This is regarding the metformin group. The clinical use of metformin group we can use in type 2 diabetes mellitus. It is a drug of choice and insulin resistance. Other than the diabetic, we have used in hirsutism. What are the adverse drug reactions with these group of drugs? They have metallic taste, flatulence, and diarrhea. Lactic acidosis is very rare but dangerous. Megaloblastic anemia also occur with these kind of drugs. Next, glitazones. These glitazones are proglitazone, pioglitazone, rosiglitazone. Their mechanism of action is they stimulate the nuclear receptors which reversal the insulin resistance. So they decrease the insulin resistance. And they increase they work on the glucose transporters. They increase the number of glucose transporters. So glucose uptake is increased. They decrease the glycosylated RBC. When these glitazones, when they are used in combination with other hypoglycemic agent dose should be reduced because these glitazones they will decrease the sensitivity or resistance of the insulin. In type 2 diabetes mellitus, insulin resistant patients, it will be most beneficial. These are the most beneficial drugs in in insulin resistant patients. Adverse drug reactions, weight gain due to the fluid retention and edema. These are hepatotoxic drugs. For rosiglitazone, it is a adverse reaction of myocardial infarction. And alpha glucosidase inhibitors. Normally in food, we are taking complex carbohydrates. These complex carbohydrates by alpha glycosidase, they'll become simple carbohydrates. These simple carbohydrates will be absorbed. So here alpha glucosidase inhibitors, they inhibit the conversion of complex carbohydrates to simple. So finally the absorption will be reduced. This is the mechanism of action for the alpha glucosidase inhibitors. Examples are acarbose and voglibose. They decrease the post-meal hypoglycemia, weight, triglycerides, and HbA1c. But these complex carbohydrates, those are in the gut. By gut flora, they'll be digested. The release of gases will be more in this kind of drugs. So flatulence and abdominal pain will be more with these kind of drugs. These are contraindicated in inflammatory bowel disease. Because of these gases, lumen of the bowel may be perforated. That's why these are contraindicated in inflammatory bowel diseases. And next group drugs are incretins. These incretins, they are stimulated by the food. So So they release the GLP. This GLP will increase the insulin release. This GLP is metabolized by DPP4. In this group, we have two kinds of drugs. First one, GLP analogs or DPP4 inhibitors, which decrease the metabolism of GLPs. GLP-1 analogs, example is exenatide. GLP-2 analogs are semaglutide, teduglutide. All these drugs should be given parenterally, except semaglutide, it can be given orally. The main function of the GLP-1 is insulin secretion, and it can increase the gastric emptying. The main function of GLP-2 is gastric emptying, but it can also release the insulin secretion. Route. We already told that these are all parenteral or subcutaneous injections. They'll cause weight loss, acute pancreatitis. DPP4 inhibitors, these are sitagliptin, linagliptin, saxagliptin. These are the oral drugs. They'll cause weight loss. No hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia is not caused by these kind of drugs. Side effects for these group, these will cause nasopharyngitis, pancreatitis. So these are contraindicated in renal failure, except linagliptin. SGLT2 inhibitors. These SGLT means sodium dependent glucose transporters. So these SGLT2 are they are found at renal proximal convoluted tubule. The function of these SGLT2 at renal tube is the reabsorption of the glucose. So they prevent the loss of glucose through the urine. By inhibiting these SGLT2 inhibitors, the glucose reabsorption will be inhibited. So glucose is eliminated through the urine. The side effects is due to the glycosuria, urogenital infections are more in these kind of drugs. Examples for these drugs are ganagliflozin, dapagliflozin. The maintain diabetes, once it is diagnosed, we advise the patient to check glucose levels. Periodically has to check the glucose levels and HbA1c levels. And these diabetes mainly affects the renal and retinal functions. It will cause diabetic retinopathy and diabetic nephropathy. So those two things also be checked regularly. Patients should have lifestyle modifications like exercising, taking healthy diet, like that. And never we have to advise the patient to never skip the meals. So always carry glucose or any chocolate, any carbohydrate whenever the symptoms of hypoglycemia like tachycardia